Okay, so the purpose of this class is to look at sample statuses. If I go to the sample manager and load some records, you can see we've got a range of different statuses that we can choose from in here when we're selecting samples. So the purpose of this is to do is to tell you what each one is when the sample gets set to that status, what causes the sample to get set to that status, and what the implications of each different status are. So I shall wade in. So the first thing I want to do is create a new record in single sample login, and I'm going to select a material. Here's one I prepared earlier, and you can see the status of our new sample is N for new. I'm just going to save that. So what new means is exactly as it is, that the sample has just been created in Qualoupe. You can't actually put any results in, so the result fields are greyed out. And the reason we've got a new status is if you are creating your samples in the database in advance of the physical samples actually being taken or the physical samples arriving, there's a provision to have a separate receipt stage. So when a sample is status N, it just means the sample has been created within the Qualoupe database, but we're not implying that you've actually got your hands on the sample at this point. Now some users might actually, the samples might arrive at their lab and they'll create the samples at the same time. They arrive and go, right, we've got these samples, and they book them in and they've actually got the samples. But other labs might schedule testing. They might know, oh, we've got these tests to do on a particular day, so they might create the Qualoupe records and then produce, if you like, a work list, a pick list. So then someone goes off into the plant and actually creates the samples that have been ordered up from Qualoupe. So until the sample has physically arrived in your lab, it's said to be status N. And if I click on the status N, it shows me what available statuses I've got, and I have one which is pending. So if I set this to pending, now the sample is ready to have results entered, so I could bung results in here. Now, if you don't actually want to have a two-stage sample creation process, you just actually, as the samples come in, you react by creating the records in Qualoupe. You can actually set your samples to automatically be received with the status of P, and that's done from, if I go to the Home tab, from the Application Manager. And if we go down to the Sample Application, Sample Manager, under Settings, we have here Auto Receive Sample, and it's set to false. But if you click on that, you could set it to true. I'm not actually going to set it in this system, but it's just a case of click on that and continue. And then from then on, when you create new samples, they will automatically go in with the status of P, and you'll be able to stick the results straight in. So the next status that happens is, if I was to put a result in there and save my changes, the status changes to B for begun. So what that means is at least one result has been entered. Now we've only actually got two results on here, so if I put in another result and save the changes, oops, I see we've got automatic validation and approval on. I shall just turn that off. I thought I'd turned that off before. It should go to C for completed, but I'm going to have to go into, where's that? It's in roles. Administrator. Roles Manager. Administrator. And where is it? I'm trying to remember. There we are. Continue. Right, so I've set that to false. So now, if I go to Sample Manager again, and create a new record. I'm going to have to repeat this, and material, demo material, save changes, pending. Okay, so that's without the auto approve on. So N for new, P for pending, B for begun, and then C when all the testing has been completed. Now after this we get to the validation stage. So this is the sample status, but you'll notice we've also got parameter status here, and that tells me that these values have been entered. E is for entered. When it was new, I didn't point it out at the time, but the status was N. So if I decided, oh, actually that needed to be 7.2, demo modification, can't spell. Okay, so then the status gets set to M, so it tells me that's a modified result. So we've got parameter statuses as well as the sample status. So if you've got manual validation set, what happens is an administrator comes along, reviews the samples and says, okay, let's have a look at these. These look okay. Oh, that's been modified, but I'm still quite happy with that. So if you click on the status here, you can set them to validated, or you could also set them to invalidated if you wanted to, but just for the purposes of this demo, I'll set them to validated. And if I then save the changes, results passed or something like that, so you've got an opportunity to put a comment in, an audit type comment at this point. Once you've set all the results statuses to validated or invalidated, then the sample then updates to V. So if I quickly create another new record, same as before, I should have set auto receive on because it's an extra step, but never mind, it's going quite quickly today. So if I put in some spurious value into there, oops, broken the limits, but never mind. So if I was coming along and reviewing this one, I could say, well, okay, I'm happy with that, so we'll validate that. But that's a ridiculous result. You know, pH, I'm never going to get a value of 89, so I can invalidate it. So you have options at this point, because you could say, well, I want to send this sample back for retesting, but it might just be that the moment has passed, the sample has been destroyed in the previous testing. You don't want that result to go out because it's obviously ridiculous, but you have to give it a status to show that you have looked at it, thought about it, and given it a validation status. So you can set it to invalidated, and then later on you can filter invalidated results out of reports or deal with them in other ways. You could say any sample that's got an invalidated result in it, you've got to order up another sample the same and repeat all your testing. It's just a little flag for you then to decide what business rules you want to apply. While I'm in here, I should point out we've got a validate all and an invalidate all. For me, I've only got 2 parameters, so it's not really a great hardship to set each one individually. But if you had many, many parameters and you scrolled down the list and they all looked fine, you could validate the whole lot of them with one click. It makes life a bit easier. So I'm going to save the changes, enter my fantastic modification reason, and the sample status goes to V. Now, once the results have been validated and the sample status has gone to V, you can't then edit them because somebody with an administrative privilege has overseen this and has said, right, I'm validating this, so it then locks it down for further editing. So if I then click on V, I have a choice of different statuses I could go to. So I could go to validated and approved. I could reject it if there's something about it I don't like the look of, or if you need to cancel a sample, you generally use that one, or obsolete. Or you could flag it. So I could say, well, I'm going to flag this one with rework required, because obviously this requires closer looks. Save changes. So let's load some more, which have got status C. There's another one, we'll have that one. Oh, that's mysterious. Of course, that was the same one. It hadn't, my pick list hadn't updated, never mind. Right, another new record. Select, save, pending, save. Right, okay, so here we're at C. There's nothing particularly wrong with those results. I like the look of those. Oops, I'll validate them all. I'm missing out a stage here. And then if I go to validation and choose validated and approved, that's how I'd expect most of your samples to end up. So it goes from new, pending, begun, completed, validated, and then with a final approved status, so validated and approved in this case. Now, if I go away and find the one that was validated and rejected, I can't see where it's gone, there it is, or flagged for rework. I can't put any results in here, but I can come back into here and set it back to a status of C, which then means that someone could come along and go, oops, I actually meant 8.9 rather than 89. Oops. That's me doing incorrect typos there, so never mind, I'll just put typo. I was trying to put 8.9 in it, like that. Okay, and then I could say, right, I'm happy with that. You're still there, Robert?
I am. I can hear you again now.
Oh, I just lost my network connection. It disappeared and came
right.
back again. I'm not quite sure how much you missed there.
No, about a minute.
What was the last thing I was doing?
At all.
Never mind.
Testing now.
Never mind. Well, I'll see. I'll see if you have any questions at the end. Anyway, I'm just about there. So, as I inadvertently demonstrated earlier, in the roles manager, for the role, because it's set at a role level, so we're logged in as administrator. If we go to settings, we have an auto-validate and auto-approve setting. So what that means is, if I go back to sample manager, if you enter a result and it's within spec, the status will automatically go to V. So it saves you that stage. And auto-approve, if you automatically or manually validate your results, then the sample will go to status VA all by itself. So you can have a completely manual system where you have to go from N to P, from C to V, and then from V to validated plus an approval status. Or optionally, you can automatically create new samples with status P and miss out the N stage if you don't want to have a separate receipt stage. And you can have auto-validation if you don't want to manually check every result. And or you can have automatic approval if once someone's checked every result and validated them, then it just automatically goes to approved as a matter of course. So you've got a bit of variety about which steps you don't want to have a manual step. The only thing I should point out again is with the auto validation of the results, if the results break the limits, then someone will always have to come and have a look at them, because obviously you don't want things that have broken limits just automatically being approved and then, validated and automatically approved. So I think I've rattled through that, so I'm about there. So if you have any questions about that, ask away. Yeah, thank you very much for attending the class anyway, and hopefully some of these mysterious symbols in the corner mean a bit more now anyway.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
If you think of any questions, just get back to us, and I'm going to this will be put up on YouTube so you can replay it later as well. Okay. Right. Bye for now.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Cheers.